So this like every millimeter counts, yeah? It's you can't miss.
Every tenth of a millimeter.
Wow.
Even. What's that, a micrometer, I guess?
So what makes a good piano? I know that there are so many brands that count, like Steinway, or I'm not so familiar with it, but I know some of them.
There's a lot of factors, starting with the quality of the wood they use. The better the wood that they start with, the better the product's going to be. A lot in the design will determine its sound quality, how well it plays, and how long it'll last. So, starting with good quality wood will give you longevity, will give you a long lifespan.
Okay.
And a good foundation to build the rest of the piano on. So, the main structure of the piano is the rim. So the better that is made, the stronger this is, the more flexible the soundboard can be, so it can actually give better tone.
Okay.
So the thinner this is, the better tone it has.
Okay.
But to make it really thin, this has to be really strong to support it.
Okay. So what kind of wood is it?
For all the structural parts, it's maple, sugar maple.
Always or not always?
Pretty much. Some areas might have birch instead, but almost always it's maple.
Okay.
A few manufacturers use different woods, but the most accepted is the maple. So, sorry, it's okay. The soundboard is made of spruce, which is a softwood. And there, the factors that matter most, so in this new soundboard, is how tight the grain is. Like here, this is good. This is pretty good quality, and there's about 12 grain lines per inch.
Okay.
Per 2 centimeters, so about 6 grain lines per centimeter.
This is the structure of the wood.
Yep.
That determines.
Yep.
Okay. So it has to be an older wood or younger or
slow
what?
growth. So the
okay.
best wood comes from the northern climates, way up north in Canada, typically, or in Europe it's going to be like Norway and Finland area. It's going to give you the best woods. Northern Germany maybe, because the tighter the grain is, the better the tone's going to be.
Okay, it means actually it's stronger.
It's stronger, and the vibrations of the sound travel along the grain. So the closer it is, the more vibrations can travel and faster.
Okay.
So it's going to improve the tone. This is the quality that I'm using. You can see it has much tighter grain.
Wow.
So this is actually considered very good for a
one.
soundboard, and this is just amazing. So.
Wow.
And that's what's here. This wood came from a 2,000-year-old tree in northern Canada.
Okay.
Which is pretty hard to find these days.
Wow. Okay. So
any woodworker looks at that and they're just always astonished that you can get wood like that.
So actually this must cost much more.
Yeah, the soundboard panel, before I even started working with it, cost me, with shipping and everything, close to $1,000. And then I put a lot of work into it to create the soundboard out of just the flat panel. There's two decent soundboard suppliers besides the piano makers themselves. in North America, and the one that I get from, he's in California, but he found this tree in northern Canada, so it's much better wood. And then another factor is the pin block.
Okay.
So this sits right here. And all the tuning pins go in all these holes.
Okay.
And this cast iron plate will go in the piano, and that block sits right up under here.
Uh-huh.
So it has to fit perfectly to this plate, because all the tension on the strings equals about 20 tons.
20 tons. Oh, wow.
And it's all held by this one piece of wood. So if this side isn't tight fit against the plate, it would break. So it has to be a very exacting fit. That has to be high quality, so it'll stay in tune. And then the shape of the plate actually has a big factor. How long the strings are for each note, and then what type of strings they use, what size strings. All that's going to affect the sound quality. So it's a lot of factors in the quality.
So at this stage of the piano, do you know which piano was it at first place, or?
This was a Mason and Hamlin.
Okay.
I still have.
Oh, the label. Okay.
So this is roughly similar to Steinway in quality, maybe not quite as good, but pretty close. Certainly enough quality to warrant rebuilding the piano. It's definitely worth rebuilding. So all of those factors are just for the sound. Then you have to make it play properly and work and respond to the pianist's touch. And that's all in the action. So there's about 12,000 parts in a piano. Most of them are right here.
12,000 parts?
Yeah. There's...
Really?
I think roughly 8,000 parts right here. And it's just to get from your finger to the hammer hitting the string. And the idea is you want it to work silently and have exact response, so even the lightest touch moves the hammer, or the hardest will, give you lots of power. So the geometry here is really important. It does need high quality materials, but geometry probably plays a bigger role in this. It's a 5-to-1 ratio, so for every millimeter that I move the key, this moves 5 millimeters. Which also means for every gram that this weighs, I feel 5 grams here.
Okay.
So the weight has to be right, the friction has to be right, and the geometry has to be right to get that proper ratio.
Wow.
But the best quality pianos, they take over a year to make them. The lowest quality can probably be made in about a month. So there's a big difference in care and design.
What do you mean to make them? To make them... to rebuild them?
No, a new piano.
To build a new piano?
To build a new piano. The best ones take about a year.
Why?
It's a lot of handwork. They do use machines, but there's a lot of things in the piano that just can't quite be done with the machine to the level that a skilled craftsman can do. Especially toward the final stages, when part of the response of doing all the finishing touches is you're listening to what the piano's capable of, and you're making adjustments to make it sound its best and make it feel its best.
So a piano factory is not like a car factory.
No, not at all.
So there is a lot.
Even the mass producers, there's still a lot of handwork.
Still a lot
for example,
of spirit.
Steinway makes about 3,000 pianos a year.
That's all.
Yeah. Mason and Hamlin only makes about 300.
Wow.
350. Some of the Chinese manufacturers will make over 1 million pianos a year. But it just means they have huge factories with lots of workers. It's still labor intensive. Some of the precision cuts can be done by machine. Like all of these parts, they have to be all cut and shaped to the same size. So these are cut by machine, but they're installed by hand. So, yeah, rebuilding, the work I do, doing everything I would expect normally to take about 3 months. So, and that's taking apart what's there and then re-putting it back together, replacing everything but the structure. So.
I remember. I talked about cars. So I remember a scene at Driving Miss Daisy.
Okay.
That they rebuild the car, and when they give it back to her, they come with a bunch of few extra, and they say, "We always have some extras." Do you have some extras when you finish the piano, or?
Not really so much. To a point, like when I get new parts for an action, there's 88 keys, and usually the manufacturer of the parts will send me 90, so I get 2 extras each time. And usually that's just in case one happens to be broken in shipping or something like that. But then I use those extras, like if I have to do a repair to someone's piano in their home. If I have the extra part that matches, I can just use that. But as far as forgetting to put something on, I'm pretty careful about that, because there's not much in a piano that's not really important to the function. Whereas a car, they have all these extra nuts and bolts and everything, kind of a lot of redundancy in a car. It's not really true in a piano. So. If you're missing something, it means something's not going to work right.
Yeah, I guess. So what's special about this piano?
This one's going to get rebuilt. I own that one.
Yeah.
So it's a cable piano. It's the maker. The owner had me come look at it and asked me if it was worth anything, and I told them that everything was bad with it. So it needs a complete rebuild. Needs a new soundboard, new pin block, new action, has to be refinished. But if you look closely, you can see the finish is darkened a lot, but underneath there's still some pretty grain to it. So I think when I strip this down and refinish it, I think it'll be beautiful. It'll be closer to the color of that one. But I think
So what, it was repainted, or?
No, it's just with age, it darkens. So if I strip it back and refinish it, it'll lighten back to its earlier natural color.
So this guy eventually said, can you do something with it?
Well, what they said is they didn't want to spend the money, and they didn't really want the piano, and they were moving. So they asked me if I wanted it. So they gave it to me, and then I'll rebuild it, and then I can sell it. So.
Oh, that's nice.
But I'll probably redesign it a little bit and see if I can improve the tone and the action a little bit. So. Since I own it, I can experiment a little bit.
Yeah, and probably it will take you much more time.
Yeah.
Because anytime you will have something more urgent to do, and it probably will take a few years.
Even this one is well overdue, but luckily my customer is flexible on it, and I've just, in the midst of working with this, I get other piano parts that come in, or lots of tunings to do. And actually, this is the first time I'm replacing a soundboard here since school, so I had to make a lot of tools. So that took some time as well.
So I guess for the customer, this kind of work is a big investment for him in the
Yes.
piano.
A complete rebuild of a piano is it can be as much as $25,000. So there are some pianos out there that aren't that expensive new.
Mm-hmm.
This one, if they wanted to get a new Mason and Hamlin, is about $70,000. So
Wow.
it's worth it to fix this one.
Yeah.
But like a Yamaha, probably not. You know, they're worth putting some work into, but not complete rebuilds, because the new ones just don't warrant it. So. A lot of the challenges with the soundboard are the fact that it's arched. I don't know if you can pick this up on the camera or not, but it's not flat.
The board.
The board is not flat. It
Okay.
has an arch to it. So each one of these ribs.
But now it's like a ball, yeah? It's this way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's upside down right now.
Yes,
It's going to go the
yes,
other way,
yes.
but yeah, it's like a bowl.
Yes.
So each one of these ribs, I cut a curve, a very long curve. There, you can see the curve in this. This is about a 30-foot radius circle, so that's, what, about 10 meters radius. This one's 35 feet, so a little over 11 meters. I've got two other curves there, so each rib is slightly different.
So you use this in order to, like, you check the curve with this.
I actually made the curve on these with those. I held these to it,
Yes,
and then I cut them
okay.
to the curve
Yes,
with
yes.
the router.
Wow.
So, but I had to make those with no patterns, so that took a while. I also had to make these clamps. And you can see the curve in there, and those I used to glue the ribs onto the soundboard. And each one, that's 45 feet radius, 40, 35, and 30. So from 10 meters to 15 meters radius. But by putting that arch into it, it puts tension on the fibers and improves the tone quality. It also prevents it from cracking because it's glued all the way around the outside to the rim. And if it dries out too much, it shrinks and it would split.
Okay.
But because it has an arch, when it shrinks, it just goes down.
So when you get the material, it is not arched. It
Right,
is
I made the
flat.
arch.
It's flat, and this makes the arches. Okay. Wow.
A lot of precision work, but it's a lot of fun. There's always new challenges and things to figure out. Right now I'm working on attaching the bridges. These are not attached yet, they're just screwed on right now. So I'm marking the back side and then I'm going to glue these on. Right now it's still the old bridge, but I'm going to take off the top. Put on, these are maple, I'll put on a new layer of maple on the top and then re-notch it and drill all the holes and everything. So the strings pass over this, put pressure down on this, on the soundboard, and that's what creates the sound of the piano. So, yeah, a lot in the quality of the piano has to do with where this bridge is on the soundboard. If it's placed a little bit too far one way or the other, it could cause strings to break. It will ruin the tone very quickly. It has to be very precise. Position. That's what I'm doing.
That's great.